India is one of the most diverse countries on earth, and the difference between the north and the south is so vast it feels like two completely separate countries in one. Different food, different cultures, different landscapes, different vibes. So the question is, if you only have time for one, which should you choose? Hey guys!
Namaste!
If you're new here, we're Rhett and Claire, and after traveling through India multiple times, we've experienced both the north and the south, and trust us, choosing between them is not as simple as it sounds. So in this video, we're breaking it all down for you. The vibe, the food, the travel experience, the difficulty, and the things nobody really tells you about. And by the end, you'll know exactly which one is right for you.
And we'll also tell you which one we prefer, and that might actually shock you at the end.
North India is where you find India's most iconic history. Between Delhi, Agra and Rajasthan, you get the Taj Mahal, massive Mughal architecture, ancient forts and palaces, historic cities like Jaipur and Jodhpur. Rajasthan especially feels like stepping into a living museum. You're not just looking at monuments, you're walking through centuries of kings, kingdoms, and storytelling carved into stone. And one of the most unique things here? Most of these old palaces and heritage homes have been converted into hotels, so you literally sleep inside history. Even outside the cities, Rajasthan gives you glimpses into rural life. Bright saris, colourful turbans, desert villages, and slow-moving countryside scenes. It feels visually rich everywhere you go. South India tells a very different story. Instead of massive forts and deserts, you get green landscapes, water, and mountains. Kerala in particular is known for backwaters and houseboats, hilly regions like Munnar with endless tea and spice plantations, and colonial towns like Fort Cochin. Fort Cochin especially feels like one of the most walkable, peaceful towns in India, with Dutch, Portuguese and colonial architecture mixed together in a slow coastal rhythm. Unlike the north, South India feels less about dramatic moments and more about everyday life blending into nature. One thing that might surprise you is that South India can sometimes feel like it has less culture at first. But that's not actually the case, it's just different in how it shows up. In the north, culture is everywhere and it's impossible to miss. Massive forts and palaces, monumental architecture, and bustling streets filled with activity. It's bold, visible, and constantly happening around you. In the south, culture feels more subtle. There are still temples, traditions, and deep history, but fewer massive monuments, fewer wow structures, and less of that constant visual intensity. It's not always jumping out at you.
You feel it more in daily life, food, local traditions, slower interactions. So if you're someone who wants to see culture, North India will probably feel more rewarding. But if you're happy to experience culture more quietly, South India has just as much depth.
North India is extreme and diverse. It's loud, chaotic, colorful, overwhelming, and completely unforgettable. From Delhi's energy to the Taj's majesty to Rajasthan's massive forts, it's all about bucket list experiences here. The Himalayas, the deserts of Rajasthan, spiritual experiences in Rishikesh. It's dry, arid in parts, and high contrast everywhere you go. It feels powerful but intense, and everything is amplified. This is the India most people imagine before they arrive. But nothing really prepares you for how powerful and sometimes overstimulating it actually is. South India, on the other hand, is more about slowing down. It's more laid back, more tropical and more relaxed. Places like Kerala, Goa and Hampi feel worlds apart from the chaos in the north.
If North India is a sensory overload, then South India is where you go to breathe. The backwaters in Kerala, beach and yoga life in Goa, tea plantations in Munnar, coastal humidity and palm trees, and everything feels softer and more natural.
It's less about ticking boxes and more about how you feel when you're there. If you travel often, this hack will save you so much stress.
Before every trip now, we do one thing first. We download an Olafly eSIM using the app on our phones. That means the second we land and activate the eSIM, we already have unlimited data to navigate ourselves around a new country.
No hunting for airport SIM cards, no removing our current SIM cards, no expensive roaming fees, and no having to download random apps in languages that we don't even understand. It just works instantly. But here's the even better part.
Olafly now has monthly plans with unlimited data in over 160 plus destinations worldwide. Plus, you get a local phone number. So if you travel often like us, you stay connected wherever you are without constantly buying new SIMs.
And they've even added something completely new called Always On, which gives you 1 gig of free data every 30 days, even after your plan ends.
It is perfect for emergencies, airport days, layovers, and when you unexpectedly need internet and you totally forgot to purchase an eSIM.
So scan the QR code on the screen now to get a discount, or use the code RETANCLAIR at checkout. North Indian food is influenced heavily by Mughal and Punjabi cuisine. Think rich, creamy butter chicken gravies, dairy-heavy dishes, tandoori cooking, and wheat-based staples like naan and roti. It's indulgent and comforting, and it's the incredible Indian food most people know. South Indian food is built around rice, coconut, and fermented dishes. It's lighter, spicier, and often healthier. Think dosas and idlis, rice-based thalis, coconut-heavy curries, and seafood along the coast.
And if you've never had a proper masala dosa, you're seriously missing out, my friend.
By the way, just a quick one, if you are planning to travel India, we have a resource pack available on our website which contains all of our favorite places like restaurants and accommodation throughout India, so check that out. Let's be honest, India can be challenging, but here are the differences. In North India, travel is more structured for tourists, but it comes with trade-offs. Long travel days between cities, often around 5 to 7 hours. Overnight trains and buses are common, and it has the biggest established tourist circle, which is Delhi, Agra to Jaipur. It's known as the Golden Triangle. It's efficient, but not always easy, and in places like Delhi, Agra and Varanasi, you'll also encounter a more aggressive travel environment. So you'll get persistent selling, frequent touts, and more pressure in the tourist-heavy areas. It's part of the experience, but it can be overwhelming. South India is slower, but more comfortable. You get shorter travel distances, which are often 3 to 5 hours max, easier pacing between destinations, less pressure from vendors or touts, but travel can feel a little bit more spread out and sometimes requires more planning or private transport as there are less train and bus options. In return though, you get calmer days, more predictable experiences, and more time actually to enjoy the places instead of just moving between them. Essentially, it's easier to navigate, cleaner, and generally less overwhelming.
If it's your first time in India, South India might be the softer landing spot, especially if you start in Mumbai and work your way down. One last thing to note about South India is there are a lot of windy roads, so if you're prone to motion sickness like me, then good luck, my friend. No, I'm kidding. Bring your motion sickness tablets and just push through. By the way guys, if you're finding this video helpful, please hit the like button now. It really helps us get this video seen by more travelers like you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. One of the most unique things about North India, especially Rajasthan, is the accommodation itself. You'll find some of the most luxurious heritage palaces turned into hotels, fort stays, and traditional havelis. Staying in these places adds to the feeling that you're inside history. In South India, accommodation is different, but equally special in its own way. Instead of palaces, you get nature-facing or beach villas, homestays, backwater houseboats, and colonial guest houses. And often, it's not the building that stands out, but it's the view, either a valley, a river, a jungle, or a tea plantation. Across both North and South India, one thing stays consistent: the people are incredibly welcoming. Hospitality is a huge part of Indian culture everywhere, but the feel of daily interactions differs. In the North, things can feel more intense in busy cities and tourist hubs, but in the South, hospitality feels a little bit more laid back, slower, and less transactional. And importantly, South India generally feels less chaotic and less pressured when moving through public spaces. In the North, moving through public spaces usually means being stared at a ton. Like we said, it is intense. You will also likely come across a lot more begging on the streets and even at some of the historical sites. And trust us, it can get very up in your face, overwhelming at times, so be prepared. Let's talk about something that people don't always explain properly: safety, scams, and what it actually feels like traveling here. Generally speaking, South India tends to feel safer and more relaxed than North India. And this isn't just a tourist opinion, even locals will often say the same thing. A term you'll hear a lot in India is civic sense. It basically refers to how considerate people are to others around them. And in the North, you'll notice that civic sense is lacking in certain individuals.
Simple things that you might come across are somebody playing loud videos in a restaurant on their phone, pushing in queues in front of you, cleanliness, spitting and throwing trash wherever they please, and just a more chaotic public behavior. And it all adds up to that feeling of intensity.
Another big factor is tourism. The North, especially the Golden Triangle, gets way more international tourists. And where there's tourists, there's money, and where there's money, there are scams. You'll find things like overcharging, fake guides, being redirected to recommended shops, drivers taking you to places that you didn't ask for, and in some cases, even straight from the airport, you can get pulled into situations where drivers try to take control of your entire itinerary. It's not dangerous in most cases, but it's definitely something you need to be aware of. The easiest way to avoid all of this is to pre-book your transfers, use trusted drivers, or book through a reputable company.
That way, you remove all of the friction and guesswork from the start. We used India Sunday and can 1 bajillion% recommend them.
In South India, especially in Kerala, this kind of behavior is noticeably less common. Kerala has a very different background: strong education levels, a long history of international trade, European and global influence over time, and even a communist-led government system. All of this has shaped a culture that feels more structured, more relaxed, and generally more straightforward to travel through. You're far less likely to feel like someone's trying to get something out of you every 5 minutes.
As for solo female travelers, South India is overwhelmingly the preferred choice. It tends to feel less confrontational and more comfortable moving around independently. Whereas in the North, the attention, the staring, and overall energy can be a bit much for some. That doesn't mean, though, that you can't travel north solo. There are plenty of people that do, but it does require more awareness, planning, and confidence, and probably a tour agency as well.
So how do you actually choose? North India is best for you if you want iconic landmarks, culture shock in a good way, you love history, forts and architecture, bucket list experiences, and you want a high energy, packed itinerary, and you enjoy dramatic, diverse landscapes. It's ideal for an active, experience-heavy trip. South India is best for you if you want to relax and slow down. You prefer nature over monuments, you like shorter travel days, and you want a calmer introduction to India. It's ideal for a restorative, immersive trip. Now for our personal opinions, and you might be surprised. Claire and I have totally different takes.
For me, the North was the most memorable. It's the India you grow up seeing. It's colorful, chaotic, and cultural. Seeing the Taj Mahal in real life, exploring the textures and the architecture of the pink city of Jaipur, and especially incredible Ladakh. That felt like a completely different world. Motorbiking through the mountains, seeing yaks, reaching some of the highest roads on earth. It's just so unique, and that's the part of India that I'll probably want to tell our kids about most.
For me, with the exception of Ladakh, which I absolutely loved, South India is the one I'd go back to again and again. It's just easier to be there. There's calmer days, greener landscapes, more nature, more space. It's the kind of place where you actually slow down and enjoy the moment.
True.
India isn't something you do once. It's something you experience differently depending on where you go. And at the end of the day, there's no right answer because the truth is you should experience both.